Hello, everyone. Thank you, organizers, for your kind invitation. It is my pleasure to be speaking on behalf of the Soynomics team as well as the Singh Soybean team here at Iowa State University in the US. The topic of my talk includes work from a number of different participants and groups, and it will be focused on soybean yield improvement using digital technologies. On this slide, I'm just listing some of the papers that have come out in the past couple of years. On the very first column, or on the left side, is a textbook and then some review articles that may be of interest to the members of the audience. In the middle two columns are some of the papers that relate to yield or yield-related trait improvement, including roots. And then on the extreme right column are some of the papers that relate to stress phenotyping. For members in the audience who have plant breeding background or interest, you'd see that there is a pipeline that goes from hybridizing all the way to commercialization of a variety. And in these different stages, there are opportunities for different projects that relate to those digital technologies. And that's what this slide is showing. Some of the examples of projects in the group where they are focused on specific parts of the program or stages of the breeding program. This is not an exhaustive list, but gives you an idea of some of the types of projects that we have ongoing and trying particularly improvement of different traits that we work on, including yield and then heat and drought tolerance. And I'll give just brief examples of some of those recent papers that have come out from our group. This first example is a paper that got published last year. It is a work of Luis and Matt from our group. And in this particular paper, they focused on yield related trait, particularly utilization of videos to extract features related to the pods of soybean and running in this automated robotic platform to be able to separate out these pods, leading to estimation of soybean yield. In another project, we have also looked at automated detection of soybean flower initiation using these ground robotic platforms, these video images, which is useful for some of the applications where we need to know when the initiation of flowering is happening. So these are just some examples of research that is ongoing in our group that is leading to tangible outcomes that can be deployed in a breeding program. This example here is work of Sam, who's a graduate student, and in collaboration with a roboticist from University of Illinois, Dr. Girish Chaudhary. Sam is running these robots building on the models that we have developed in previous research that I showed in the previous slide to get these robots to give us videos that from which we can extract features related to these plant reproductive organs, giving us estimate of yield. The work here is work of Trambeck, graduate students Trambeck, John, and now Lisa, who are working on interpreting the impact of weather on yield, and particularly with the utilization of these dual attention models to get the temporal attention as well as spatial attention to determine what are the most significant weeks in a growing season that help in prediction of seed yield in soybean, as well as determine which are the weather variables that are most significant in each of these weeks. So these are the kinds of information that are helping us to develop varieties that can perform better in future scenarios. Sarah and Lisa are working on water stress and heat stress research. This is an example of a heat stress nursery. You can see a lot of dead plants and then some varieties that are doing reasonably well. And this, we are using multiple sensors to try and integrate information from a variety of sensors from ground as well as aerial platform to extract the most meaningful features that can allow us to estimate in a non-destructive manner, estimate water or heat stress, as well as to be able to do early prediction, because we are not only interested in the genetic mechanism, identification of those genetic mechanisms, but then also on a production scale to be able to determine these different interventions that need to be made to protect the crop loss. We're quite interested in root trait. This is work that came out a couple of years ago. Zaki and Kevin, they worked on development of automated root image analysis pipeline, ARIA, which is based on computer vision and machine learning. And using this platform, we can study a lot of different traits in a time series manner, which allows us to get information that can be utilized for practical application. And that's in a published article in Plant Phenomics, where Kevin and Zaki then studied a lot of large hundreds of accessions in a time series to come up with informative root, i.e., I-root category. These are examples of those root types, and trying to link up the performance of genotype with these I-root and different categories. We have used this information now to generate some crosses in the order or the interest to create more diversity in our genetic pool to improve soybean lines. The final example here is Zaki and Clayton. They developed the soybean nodule acquisition program. This paper came out recently, and root traits are difficult to phenotype, and nodules that are present on soybean root are even more difficult. These are examples of those nodules here, and you can see a lot of diversity. And in this particular pipeline we have developed, we are seeing a lot of improvement in terms of our ability to not only determine presence of nodule, but also where are they present and what is the development of these nodules over time. So we are now doing the biological studies to link it with performance traits. I'll finish with this slide, which depicts a breeder with ground robots, this manual pushcart drone, because breeder takes a lot of different nodes during the growing season, and we want to be able to assimilate information from different streams of these sensors to get information on traits that have so far precluded us to be able to develop varieties. So future is very exciting, and we have to be very thankful for funding agencies at federal level, farmer organizations, private companies, as well as institutional support that is allowing this team to work on these things. And I'm excited to and looking forward to have more discussion in the meeting. Thank you so much.